Right, let's start off episode 2 with a nice bit of photo etch. Now with these seat belts, they come off the fret all nice and straight, and we want them to look a bit more natural. So what we're going to do here, we're going to get two sets of tweezers, and we're just going to start doing lots of little bends, right? We're not kind of bending this into a sort of angle or anything like that. We're still keeping the seat belts, straight-ish. Just we want to kind of represent creases to make it look like fabric, make it look more natural, so it doesn't just look like a straight bit of photo etch, right? So just keep on doing lots of random little creases, sort of bending one way and bending back to get this representation of bent fabric. And what we can also do, we can sort of give it a couple little twists as well to also kind of give it that realism to the photo etch. And hopefully you'll agree it's not just looking straight now, it's looking a bit more bendy and creasy and fabricy rather than just plain simple straight. And then what we want to do now is we want to glue it actually onto our seat here, so just threading it through the hole that you've got on the seat. Could be a bit fiddly. I know with smaller pieces of photo etch you can get really fiddly, so it's a timely process using tweezers, but you'll get there in the end. And then what we want to do, we want to glue this in place. And what I'm going to be using just normal medium CA glue on the back of a cocktail stick, and we just put a nice little blob just on the back there. Now this is the back of the seat, so we don't have to worry about being messy. I mean, we don't want to be too messy, but we haven't got to be worrying about blobs of super glue kind of seeping out, so don't worry about this. Just hold it down with some tweezers until it locks in and glues into place. But remember, we're not really going to see the back of we're not going to see the back of that seat at all. So then we can bend down the front part of our photo etch, which is what we're going to see, right? And then we want to get a bit of glue just on the back of the photo etch seat belts. Now we just want to roll it on as like a bit of a smear. We're not putting blobs on, we're just rolling it on, so we just get a smear of super glue just on the back, and then we just want to push down and just hold it into place until it glues. Now what I probably should have done here is I should have done one side of the seat belt, glued that down, and then done the same to the second side, because basically when you roll on a smear you haven't got too long until that dries. It does dry very quickly when it's smeared on, so I've had to just quickly basically got a little bit of a blob on there. We've got a bit of a mistake. It is glued down now, but if we quickly get a quick cotton wool bud, we can very quickly wipe it up, right? And you've got to be quickly on this, and you don't want to be messing around too long. Keep wiping at it, just a quick wipe, because you don't want hairs off our cotton wool bud being super glued onto our seat. So we've just wiped up that little bit of a mistake there. Our seat belts are on, looking rather nice, and it will look really nice when we get some weathering on there as well. Now you basically did the same for all the other bits of the seat belt. So hopefully, as you can see, all our cockpit is looking rather nice, just nicely weathered it up as normal. Nice bit of photo etch in there, really does set it off rather nice. But what we want to look at now, I really want to concentrate on the engine with this one. I really want to do a bit of scratch building, bring the engine to life, and kind of show that off. So what I've done, just to show you, hopefully as you can see, I've done a bit of priming basically with certain parts and everything. Now the engine section has quite a lot of parts, and you've got some parts that need to be like aluminium, some that need to be a bit rusty, some that are black, some that need to be our RLM02. So you don't really want to rush off and just glue this all together and then spray it and then paint it and all this kind of stuff. If we get organized, sort of put our parts into different sections as I have here. These need to be RLM02 over here, and a couple on the cocktail stick, aluminium. Our actual engine block itself needs to be a nice glossy black, and our little engine exhaust here as well. There's lots of these little engine exhausts. There is 12 altogether, tiny little pieces. These need to be like a rusty kind of colour, so if you glue them to the engine block needs to be like black. By keeping them on the sprue here, we can just, you know, nicely have them all in one place, weather them up, you know, spray them like I'm going to do at dark iron and rust them up that way. What I've also done as well is I haven't glued our fuselage section together. Hopefully, as you can see here, all I've done, one piece of tape just to hold it together, just so we can play around, right? So we can get all our different pieces here and we can just dry fit them. They do fit rather perfect, but to be able to dry fit them, getting all our little panels here, you know, testing them, testing the top one, we can find out how it's going to go together, get a feel for how it's going together, because it depends on how you want to go about it, because the kit, the instructions give you like kind of two options basically. We can have it all closed up, right, or we can have it all opened up. In my case, I want to do this in a bit of a part opened up. I want to have our two panels here either side to be attached, and our little panel on top as well to be attached, right? So that part's going to be closed up, but for our actual big sort of engine cowl here section, I want to cut this in half and have both halves up in the same kind of position you would have your car bonnet, right? So it's just going to be this bit of engine cowl section in two halves up like a car bonnet, but the rest I want it all closed up, right? I just want to make it look like it's not going through some sort of deep maintenance with all the panels off. I just want it to look like it's just having a bit of a tune up, a bit of a check, those kind of things. So it's just the engine cowl open. But in doing that, we have a couple of problems to deal with. The first part is going to be our little MGs here. Because the way it works is the MGs, if you decide to close it, you don't put them in. If you want to open it, you put them in. But because we're having it half open, half closed, we have to do a bit of modifying to kind of get it that way. So what we want to do, quickly, just bring you in, right, is just on here. I don't know how well you're going to see it, but let's bring you in a bit more and a bit more. Right, this piece here is going to go on top, but as you can see, it's not going quite down because of the MGs. And I don't know if you can just see, just here, just on the left, inside there, we've got this little piece there which is holding it up. Now this is without the MGs in, so if you wanted to close this up, it doesn't say anything about in the instructions about cutting off this little bit here, which is what you're going to have to do if you want to close it up. And in my case, if I want to close up this top as well, then we may need to kind of cut that back a little bit more. We'll just do it just in case. So fingers crossed now, this is going to close. Let's just get that in there. Again, it's nicely, you know, together, but nicely loose, so you can keep test fitting it. Right, and hopefully, as you can see now, that on the sides there is all nicely closed up. And hopefully, as you can see there, I have still glued in the MG, but I've cut it down as well. So let's get our second MG here. Right, and what we want to do, we just want to cut it right just here, just there like so, and there goes the bit we don't want flinging across the room. Right, and then what we want to do is we just want to glue it in place just over here as well, and then we want to test fit, you know, see if that's going to go into place, and then that way we've cut it in a way so that we can still close up what we want to close up, and still have these MGs nicely on show with all that engine section underneath it. So that is just that. I'll do that little bit off camera, but what we want to do now is I want to get a nice bit of metallizer paint coming out here now. So let's get a little kitchen paper towel down. And we want to get out 218 Mr. Metal Colour Aluminium. Really nice colour, and depending on how you rub it down depends on how it turns out. So we've got to give it a damn good shake to make sure we get all this sediment off the bottom. Hopefully, as you can see, I've done a bit of a shake, it's started to come loose. That's all the good stuff. We need to get that from off the bottom. So as you can see, sediment's all off the bottom. So what we want to do, we want to open this up. This stuff is expensive, so you don't want the lid on too long. As you can see, I'm almost out. We want to pour it in kind of nice and quickly, I find is the best way to do it. We always get a little bit dripping down the side because it's so thin. Put the lid back on, nice and quick because it does evaporate very quickly. And I'm just going to get one of our pieces here just to start with. Nice top bit of our engine block here. Test our flow. We actually want to get it down to the usual about 10 to 15 psi. Right, we don't have to get too heavy with this. Right, and then we just simply put a nice like misty coat on to start with. I know that psi has just gone below 10, so I need to turn it up a little bit. Nice light misty coat to start with. Try and come in from all angles just to make sure. Right, and that's looking quite good there. Maybe another little go, and there we go. And we've got a few more of these aluminium pieces to do, and I'll show you the next bit. So we can now rub these parts down now, and what you'll find is you'll lightly rub at it at first, and then the more you rub at it, the more it starts to shine up. And the cool thing about these metallizer paints is once you give them a nice bit of a rub, they really do start to look like real metal. Just remember, you know, if you're going to put gloss coats on or matte coats on or anything like that, it's going to take away from this natural metal finish that we end up getting. The dark iron does come nice actually. We give this a bit of a rub and you'll start to see how it just nicely kind of shines up in places. Although we haven't got to worry too much about this dark iron here on, which looks like a little turbo or something, because we're going to make this kind of look sort of nice and rusty a bit. The way kind of turbos and exhausts look, they've got that kind of metally sort of rusty look to them, and we can just rub at this more, move to a clean part of the cloth to sort of finish it off and rub it up that little bit better and nicer, sort of almost like buffing it up sort of thing. And there we go. As you can see, that's looking, you know, quite nice and metally. So once we've done all that, we can then kind of move along and start, you know, gluing on these nice natural metal finish pieces onto our engine block here. Now, the main engine part now, it does say in the instructions actually to spray this dark iron. But I've looked at lots of reference photos, and lots of reference photos shows this as being like a nice gloss black paint. So that's what I've basically sprayed this up as, which having the gloss on there as well helps in, because we've got to do a couple of decking here, which I'll just do off camera. So let's get this kind of coming together now, and I'll get back to you. Now when it comes to gluing pieces on, now Tamiya's thin cement, great glue that you can use for like melting the stirring plastic together, but I did do a product review on these, and if you saw the product review, what proved in that product review was that Mr. Cement S evaporates a lot quicker than Tamiya's thin cement, which when it comes down to gluing together parts that have been painted, you want to go for Mr. Cement S, right? Because this stuff, when it comes round to gluing on, let's get rid of that cocktail stick, gluing on this nice natural metal finish piece, which if you orientate it the right way, you'll find it'll go in rather nice. as you can just see there, goes on there rather nice. What you'll find is with the Cement S, if we kind of put this on here, what's going to happen is if there's any glue that goes onto the surface, it won't stay there for very long, so it's not going to eat away at the paint. It's not going to damage the paint as much as Tamiya Extra Thin Cement would, because on the surface it's going to just evaporate away really quickly, as we proved in that video. So I'm just pushing that down, and that does look nice. It also says in the instructions that that top plate there was going to be the same colour as the rest of the engine, being like a dark iron, but I saw somebody else kind of do this piece of nice aluminium, and I just think it just, you know, adds a bit more flavour actually to do that nice and aluminium. So hopefully you'll like that. So I'm going to glue everything now with our Mr. Cement S. Now what I want to do is I want to get some of that rust going. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our nice little piece here that we want to have looking all nice and rusty. Let's get you on camera a little bit closer. And what we could do is, I like to kind of just dab it onto the kitchen paper towel first, just so I can get the brush loaded up the way I want to, and then we just nicely brush this pigment on. And we want to start off nice and light kind of first. And then we'll turn this over, and we'll just pigment up this as well. Need some more pigment, dab it down, get it brushed all on nicely all over. Now that is, you know, coming out too light. You know, it is where you want to start, is going light, and then I like to, you know, knock it back, sort of making it look a bit more natural by getting some sort of a dark brown on there, which I'm using. Which one's this? This one's dark mud, and then we can just put that on top as well. And hopefully what you'll agree is it kind of brings the rust a bit more sort of natural. You know, you've got that hint of the really light standard rust still coming through a little bit, but that dark mud kind of knocks it back, and kind of in a way it sort of makes it look a bit like old rust rather than fresh rust in a sense. And hopefully, you know, you'll agree that has just made that nice bit of our engine part there, nice bit of dark iron rubbed down, nicely buffed up, and then we've got this nice bit of rust going on there, which just kind of livens it up a little bit more, making it look a little bit rusty, just the way we want it. We can also have the same effect with all of our little engine exhausts here. Just doing one for you, bring you in a little bit closer. Just doing the one here nicely with the first light colour, hopefully, as you can see, and then we can come in with our brown. Maybe these engine exhausts, actually, you're probably going to want to come in with a bit of a black on top of there as well. So I'm just grabbing my black smoke, also by MIG Production, putting a little dab of it on the kitchen paper towel. Now I only want to try and get a bit on this, because what you've got to remember is black can be quite come on quite strong quite quickly, and hopefully you can see just there that we've just give it that little kind of nice, you know, it's still kind of looking sort of black, but it's got that bit of a rust to it, and you can play around with it a bit more if you wanted to. Add a bit more of that rust maybe, then maybe come back with the black or the brown, and just get it the way you want it to be. I think a little bit more black maybe, and maybe we could just kind of, you know, just on the tip of the exhaust, just on the tip, maybe we could just kind of really sort of make it a little bit more blacker than the rest, just so we've got you know, looking a bit rusty at the back, but just at the tip there we've just give it that bit more black, give it a bit more of an effect. But I mean, we are going to kind of spray on top of this with you know, a nice last bit of black post shading. So I'm just going to rust up all these and get them glued on.